ranking every single pseudo-legendary Pokemon from worst to best. We just did all of the starter Pokemon one type at a time, so let's jump right into the first stages for the pseudo-legends. As always, something has to be last. And this time I have Frigibax in 10th. Now, like I've said before, hold on, I'm not one of those Gen 1ers that just hates all of the new Pokemon. I actually really like all of the first stage pseudos quite a bit, but Frigibax the least out of the bunch. I know the weird yellow flap things turn into claws or whatever when it evolves, but I just don't really get how. I don't know, they're weird and it's alright. Number 9 is Dino. Honestly, the best thing about it is probably its name. I love the German 1, 2, 3 reference for this line. That and its color scheme. But other than that, it's a pretty boring little baby dinosaur dragon thing. I still like it, but it just doesn't really stand out much. And now for number 8, I really don't think it's all that great, but it is very popular. It's Bagon. Like I said at the start, I don't dislike any of these, but Bagon just doesn't do all that much for me. It's filled with nostalgia for sure, which makes it hard to place, but I don't have anything specific against it. It's just kinda okay. Number 7 is Dreepy. The Gen 8 games were alright, but they did have some really awesome Pokemon designs, their pseudos included. Dreepy is just such a cute little guy. I like the sleek design that goes perfectly with its amazing dragon ghost typing. At number 6, I have Dratini, and honestly I think this one might be kinda generous, cause I'm old, and there's so much nostalgia there. I love Dratini so much, but holy crap, this thing's level up moveset was just painful, up until like Gen 8 where they gave it Dragon Tail level 15. Granted, Gen 1 Pokemon aren't known for their great movesets, but no, you know what? I'm switching these. I'm putting Dreepy at 6 and Dratini at 7. Now look at that. You saw an opinion change live on the internet. Holy Anyway, into the top 5, we have Goomy kicking it off at the 5 spot. Goomy is adorable. Just a cute little smiling blob that is somehow a dragon. It really should have been part poison. I mean, it's a purple blob. And it's the pseudo in the region that introduced the fairy type. What better way to show off the new type interactions other than a poison type dragon? But yeah, it's a weird little guy and I don't know why, but I love it. Maybe just because it breaks the mold of the typical pseudos so well. Now, number 4, Jangmo-o is actually the only pseudo line I still have never used, but it sure is cute. A little armored dragon with a unique color scheme. I like it a lot. I don't have much else to say about it. So number 3 is Gible. Pokemon actually pulled off the land shark trope really well here. It's the perfect mix between cute and formidable. I think it's safe to say that almost everyone used one of these in their Sinnoh playthroughs. Really, for me, the top 2 set themselves apart from the pack, both literally and just based on my opinion. I didn't plan it this way, but the top 2 first stage pseudos are the only not dragon types. Beldum at 2 and Larvitar at 1. Now, I do value their uniqueness, but even without that, I genuinely love their designs as well. Beldum straight up looks like a space robot on patrol, and meanwhile Larvitar actually looks like an angry rock monster's angry little baby. You can put either of them at number 1, they're perfect. Now for the middle stages. Oh, if you're watching on these platforms where the videos are blowing up, that's cool and all, but it would be a whole lot cooler if you watched it on this one instead, so I can convince my wife these videos are still worth making. Anyway, the middle stages. As a whole, they're pretty meh for the pseudos, just like for most Pokemon, so we'll move quickly through them. Started off at number 11, I'll throw Shelgon. I understand the lore and why it looks the way it does, but I think if a design has to be explained or you really need to pay attention to dex entries for it to make sense, it's probably not great, and let's be honest, it just looks sort of dumb. At number 10, we have Hisuian Sliggoo. Once again, I think the design concept is really good here. I like the idea of it, but yeah, it's just ugly. Similarly to number 9, regular Sliggoo. It's the exact same thing, but without the shell. So yeah, still weird. At 8, I'll put Pupitar. And I see the trend now. I apparently just don't like the whole cocoon idea for pseudo legends. Now, the top 7 I actually kind of like. Starting with number 7 is Violet. Similarly to Dino, I think its naming theme might actually be the best part of it, but a 2-headed dragon is pretty cool. 6 is Gabite. It's really nothing special, a good bridge between Gible and Garchomp that looks pretty good on its own. Number 5 is hakkamo-o. Its design is actually pretty cool, like a teenage tribal looking dragon, no complaints here. Number 4 is Arctibax. I actually think this little guy is pretty awesome, a little icy dino dragon, what's not to like? The top 3 I think are genuinely good designs that I really like. Number 3 is Dracloak, another perfect bridge evolution here. The little Dreepy on its head, along with the fact that Ghost Dragon is just inherently awesome. Number 2 is the ever classic Dragonair, but unlike Dracloak, kind of in spite of its final evolution, Dragonair obviously looks nothing like Dragonite at all, and I personally think think Dragonair is a whole lot cooler. I love its design. But number 1 is Metang. I mean, it's basically just a mini Metagross, and Metagross is awesome. So it takes the 1 spot. Now onto the really fun part, the final evolutions, the powerhouses, the true pseudo-legendary Pokemon. I like most of them a lot, but of course something has to be last, and this time it's kommo-o at number 11. The only fully evolved pseudo I actively dislike, and not for the lack of a really cool and interesting concept. First off, Fighting Dragon is an awesome type combination, and its stat spread is incredible. And like I said, the concept is interesting. There's just something about its design as a whole that's just kind of off-putting for me, and I really can't narrow it down. I've just genuinely never cared for this Pokemon. Number 10 is Hisuian Goodra. Once again, an amazing type combination of Steel Dragon, and just like every other pseudo, great stats. Goodra has always been kind of a slug dragon thing, so making its past form a snail makes total sense. Love the idea, loved using it in Legends Arceus, but just really not a fan of the way it looks. At number 9, I have Baxcalibur. Oh no, he's putting all the new Pokemon last. No, I'm not. Just be patient. I don't dislike Baxcalibur nearly as much as I did when it first released. In fact, I actually kinda like it now. The icy Spinosaurus Godzilla thing, I don't know, its typing is really not great, but that 145 attack stat is nothing to scoff at. 8 is Goodra. It's 2 spots above its Hisuian variant simply because I think it looks much better. Although I agree with like everyone on the fact that it should have been a poison type like I explained with Gumi. It just would have been perfect, but anyway, yeah, I like Goodra quite a bit. It's unique among pseudos, like alongside Dragonite, just by not really trying to look all that bad. Now, the number 7 spot is probably gonna upset a lot of you. This Pokemon is incredibly popular, but it's Salamence. Now, hear me out. I obviously don't dislike Salamence at all. It's really cool and super nostalgic. Obviously, it's incredible in battle. Now, I'm gonna emphasize that I don't dislike it, but I can't be the only one who thinks its whole body shape is just kinda odd. Why is he so flat? Number 6 is Hydreigon, another one that may seem controversial. It was actually my favorite Pokemon that revealed with Gen 5 at first. It's really awesome. A dark-type Hydra-style 3-headed dragon that's irrefutably cool. But as we go into the top 5, the rest of them are flawless in my opinion. As much as I love Hydreigon, I have to admit that its weird not leg things and its face for hand things are just not great. I like it, but it could have been a lot cooler. And speaking of the top 5, here we are, the upper echelon of pseudo legends. Starting off with number 5, Dragonite. I know a lot of you are already typing, oh my god, nostalgia runs this list, oh Gen 1 or... Look, Dragonite is awesome. Like I said with Goodra, it's somewhat unique by not trying to look super bad. It's clearly still powerful, but also a total friend. A friend to the end who wouldn't hurt a fly, unless he's Lance's. Now I have to acknowledge the clear disconnect from its pre-evolutions. I do wish it would have ended up a little different, or more like Dragonair's design, or just straight up trade places with Gyarados, which is what keeps it from the top 3. Also not quite in the top 3 is number 4, Garchomp. I obviously don't have anything negative to say whatsoever about Garchomp. Dude is an absolute monster and is the ace of one of the hardest champion fights to this day. I don't think I need to defend why Garchomp is this high, but maybe why it isn't higher. And with that being said, that brings us to the top 3, which are honestly probably interchangeable for the number 1 spot in my opinion. But for the sake of making a decision, I'll put Tyranitar at 3, the perfect example of a pseudo legend. You see this thing and immediately know how powerful it is. I absolutely love its design, the imposing armored Godzilla look. Now, Rock Dark is a really cool typing, but really kind of awful, having so many weaknesses. Coming in at number 2 is Metagross, arguably the most unique of them all, and I really don't think I need to explain why it's in the top 3. Everyone loves Metagross, and rightfully so. However, this is probably my hottest take of the whole video. Dragapult is the coolest pseudo-legendary Pokemon. Dragapult is honestly up there for one of my favorite Pokemon overall. I absolutely love the design, the typing, the stat spread, the interesting and unique concept. It is just absolutely perfect in my opinion. But go ahead and leave a comment on what you disagree with, and if you haven't already, check out these videos where I rank all of the starter Pokemon in similar fashion. See you next time.